welcome to kind of an unusual outside the box reviews. This one coming to you with basically just audio as opposed to video, though I'm sure I'll have put something interesting for you to look at in the background here. And also unusual in that I am going to be doing a bit of a movie review here. It's not really something I intend to do with this channel. I'm going to just stick to figures and things of that nature. But I had the opportunity tonight to see a preview screening of Green Lantern. Granted, in about 24 hours, people will be seeing it for midnight showings and stuff. So really not too much of an advanced screening. But I just wanted to kind of put my thoughts out there and, while the movie's still fresh in my head, and kind of talk about it a little bit as I'm heading home from the theater. I'm going to try to just do some basic thoughts up front, and as it gets later, I'll try to announce it when I'm going to go and start doing some spoiler type things. So if you haven't seen it or you don't want it spoiled, you just, listen to this first part. I'll try to keep it spoiler free, and later I'll go into specifics that might kind of ruin the movie. I have to say, I didn't hate it. I didn't absolutely love it either. It was not a fantastic movie by any means. It was just fine. A lot of it seemed to be setting up for a sequel, and it's kind of a disappointment. I would have rather they made a stronger first movie, stronger introduction movie, and less of, hey, we're going to set up this world and these powers and all this stuff, and then later we're going to come back and do something fantastic with it. But unfortunately, that's basically what we got in this. And I honestly feel either way about it. I could be like, go for a sequel and put out another one. Now you got all the garbage out of the way, you could do something cool. Or you could go the way of the Hulk and just reboot it in a couple years and do it a little better from an origin story again. But, I don't know, I'm honestly sick of comic book origin stories. I'd rather just get a quick preview of their powers to kind of get people up to speed and just have a fun adventure, as opposed to, I don't know, sometimes origin stories just get a little too brooding and tedious. And this one definitely did. It really got slow in the beginning. They tease you right up front with Oa and the Guardians and all that. And by the time you actually got back there, after watching Hal Jordan and Carol Ferris do crap on Earth for a while, and even after he finds Abin Sur, it just drags of, like, okay, are we going to get to outer space now? And it really just disappointed me that they couldn't get there faster. I have to admit, from a comic book point of view, I am more of a fan of the Green Lantern Corps series than I am of the standard Green Lantern series. Hal Jordan is not my favorite character in that series by far. I'd much rather see most of the other characters. I love seeing the different aliens, and even the ones that just kind of have like a one-shot story in a comic. It's kind of just neat to explore a different alien in their life and stuff. I know that's hard to do with a movie, but the ad campaign for this movie was so based around like Tomar-Re, Sinestro, Kilowog, and they really don't play as big of a part as I would have hoped. And quite honestly, looking at the action figure line, a lot of the figures, or the characters that are being made into figures, I only saw briefly, if at all, honestly. I'm getting to the point where I don't know if I could talk much more about this without putting spoilers out there. I'm still not going to try to spoil it horribly, I don't think. We'll see if I change my mind as I start ranting about it. But if you haven't seen it and you still want, everything kept under wraps, like plot points and stuff, probably a good part to stop listening here. Alright, you gone now? Alright, good. So, Kilowog and the other Lanterns are barely seen. Kilowog has a very brief training sequence with Hal, and then he goes over to Sinestro. And I really wish it would have followed the Secret Origins comic line a little better. I know that wasn't what they were basing. I know the script for this and Secret Origins was written about the same time, if I remember correctly, so it was kind of hard to base one on the other. But there was no Atrocitus involved in Evan Source thing. It was Parallax, and they do kind of make Parallax's destruction at the end of the movie seem pretty final. I mean, that's kind of the thing about Parallax, is that it's a little hard to get rid of, but it seemed pretty final. It's not like we're going to get a Blackest Night coming out of this from what I saw. And as I said, the stuff on O was so short, and I think that's why I just keep going back to, that it disappointed me so much. And there was a scene where they're all gathered around. Actually, first I gotta complain about the fact that Oa seemed desolate. It was just like these rocky plateaus, and I don't know if there's any World of Warcraft fans out there. It kind of reminded me of, was it Thousand Needles or whatever, where everything's on these rocky spires. I couldn't tell if they were supposed to be buildings or just stones or what they were supposed to be. It was, really just an ugly looking place. The Guardians were out in the open, someplace you could just fly to. It wasn't like a citadel or anything. Same with the power battery was kind of enclosed. I don't think we ever really got a good look at it. It had like a pyramid over it, but it was still kind of open. And there was this little rocky quarry looking thing with a Green Lantern symbol that I'm not sure what that was supposed to be for, but they kept gathering there for meetings. And Sinestro, I know he's supposed to be the greatest Green Lantern before he goes rogue, but I mean, he was kind of acting like he ran the show. Like it was the Guardians went through Sinestro and then he went to the other Lanterns. That's how they were treating it, and it kind of seemed a little odd to me. But he had them all gathered there, and you kind of get a good look. It reminds me of like the cantina scene from Star Wars. Even some of the sound effects of the alien voices that were like not being translated. It was showing them just really briefly, and you kind of got Not Kiloi, and that was the first sign of Kilowog, Stel, Gahoo, a lot of other ones. I mean, it was thousands upon thousands of them. But they never really focused on any of them. You got brief glimpses, and especially with the 3D glasses on, it was a very dark movie with the 3D glasses on. I know that's a complaint a lot of people have with the 3D, is that it darkens everything. So it made it really hard to pick out lanterns in it. But I was sitting there like, okay, well, they're making an action figure of that guy, action figure of that guy, so, I mean, they've got to have a bigger role. And a little bit later, you see Sinestro taking a bunch. I think Gahoo was in there. Isamat, or however you pronounce his name, the lizardy guy was there. I think Stel was in there. And they just got blasted to death within like 3 seconds. So they barely got camera time, and then they're just gone. And that kind of disappoints me. I mean, some of those characters are ones that I really like in the comic. Isamat and Stel especially. And it was really just sad and kind of pathetic to see them go out like that. I did not want to see them just shot down so quickly. And that was just really disappointing. And the whole thing with Parallax, I didn't like the design for Parallax. Well, I can't say I didn't like it. It was unique. I could go with it. It wasn't what I would have picked. I mean, I don't think it would have been too hard to make one that looked like what it was in the comic. I think it looks pretty cool in the comic, kind of a buggish, reptilian-looking thing. This was a Guardian's oversized head with octopus tentacles that was more black than yellow. It was supposed to be almost like smoky, and it was just yellow kind of peeking out of points on it. And it's funny because I've seen previews of what the Collect and Connect figure is supposed to be that's Parallax, and it doesn't really look like what we saw in the movie. Actually, the stupid little 3 3/4 inch toy where you squeeze his tail and a claw comes out of his chest, that's actually almost a better representation from what I've seen. Who knows? Maybe what I saw was a prototype picture, so it might not be what that Collect and Connect's going to be at the end. We still haven't seen anything except for those stupid tentacles yet. But, I mean, that fight was fun. It was kind of cool to see him doing his stuff on, with the constructs and everything. They were a little goofy, like, I feel like they were picking constructs to make toys out of. Something you could sell, like a deluxe pack where he has the machine gun and all that stuff, and just big clunky things. And I kind of just like the randomness in the comic book where he's pulling out just dumb stuff to fight with sometimes. They had the giant fist, that's iconic, but I don't know, it would have just been kind of funny to see, a boot come out and kick somebody or other things like that. This was very much, let me make military equipment out of this. I mean, there was a scene where he used springs to launch something in the air, and that was closer to what I wanted, but it just looked really silly. And maybe that's why they didn't go with what I was talking about, because maybe it would have just been too silly and too stupid. But it, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know what the right median for that would have been. But the whole fight with Hal and Parallax was pretty fun. I mean, it was good. I would have really liked to see the other core members come in, because the whole thing is like he's goes to Oa and talking about, like, let me fight this, come help me fight this, and they basically just let him go and do it on his own. And I would have really liked to see, I mean, at the end, Sinestro, Kilowog, and Tomar Ray show up and help him at the very, very end after he's already defeated Parallax. I kind of would have liked to see them come in for the climax, but I guess you got to build your hero, especially if you're setting up so much for a sequel. You got to build your hero. Maybe next time we could have the villain that needs everybody together to beat. And I guess the big thing I keep realizing I'm leaving out is all the Hector Hammond stuff. And that was okay. It was fine. I think the actor did a really good job. He seemed to get really into it. He was always hunched over, and he just looked like almost a stereotypical super nerd type thing of, just kind of greasy, and like the shoulder hunch just kind of killed it for me. It worked very well. There's a scene where he goes to greet Carol Ferris and they hug, and he does like a really creepy sniff of her hair, and I think he was the best actor out of everything we kind of saw in there. Ryan Reynolds, I think I can't not associate him with waiting, and I kept kind of waiting for that character, and I just kept thinking throughout the movie. People kept talking throughout the previews and stuff, or when the movie was coming up, that he would have been a better Guy Gardner instead of a Hal Jordan. And thinking of that, it's like, well, then you got to push it the next step further for Guy Gardner. I almost wouldn't be surprised if they just looked back at Waiting and went the next step further and got like Dane Cook for Guy Gardner, which would be absolutely horrible. But I almost wouldn't doubt they'd go with it. That's kind of what it comes down to. I feel like I'm complaining about it more than anything else. I did find myself kind of drifting off in parts because it really did drag in a lot of it, and I really would have preferred a lot more stuff with the core and Oa and outer space and the aliens and everything. And yet again, I do know that costs a lot more money to do the CGI for and everything. But that's what I really would have preferred in this movie. They didn't give it to me. But as an origin story, it's fine. I would almost hope to see a director's cut that maybe is a little bit shorter than the theatrical cut, just to take out some of the tedious scenes. I know they do have to establish Hal and Carol's relationship, but it takes a long time. And seeing that they did Hal's relationship with his father in very short flashbacks, it almost seems like they could have just moved the other relationship that much quicker. And last two things on this one, and I'm going to cut this off because I feel like I've been rambling for quite a long time. I heard people, I saw it online, saw it on IMDb before this movie came out, and I heard it today. And it just surprises me that I did not know so many people associated Green Lantern with Jon Stewart. And I heard people coming out of the theater violently angry that a white guy was playing the Green Lantern. And I actually heard somebody attribute it to, like, oh, it's because, it's these nerdy white boys who read comics and they gotta make it fit. And I think it's just kind of lame that people are freaking out over this when it really was, Hal Jordan, not counting Alan Scott, but we're going with the, space version of Green Lantern, the modern version of Green Lantern. I mean, Hal Jordan was the first, and everything I've read, there was supposed to be a cameo from Jon Stewart in this movie, and I really kind of wish it was there, especially with all those complaints I was hearing about it. Just maybe to kind of settle people and kind of do the thing from like Iron Man, where Rhodey's looking at the suit and it's like, oh, next time, maybe just give. I mean, there was plenty of action with Parallax in it. You could have thrown a soldier down there and had it be Jon Stewart. I think it would have been pretty easy. And maybe I missed the cameo. Maybe I just didn't see it. But didn't see anything like that. It would have been kind of nice to have. Maybe it would have kind of cleared up a little bit of the controversy. And I would definitely like to see Jon Stewart in the next movie. I really do hope they put it in there. And the last big thing, man, I'm losing my voice. I'm ranting too long on this. The after the credits scene, I did not stay till the complete end of the credits because it looked like they kind of played their cards early and didn't make you wait the whole time. And they gave you a little bit of the credits, and then the scene of earlier in the movie, the Guardians are talking about how they don't feel like the willpower is enough anymore to defeat Parallax. They're afraid. And they decide to harness fear and make a yellow ring. And at the end of the movie, you see it taken out of a containment unit because Hal Jordan's convinced them not to use it, that it would be ruinous to the core if they embraced fear. And you see Hal, or you don't see Hal, you see somebody break a containment field. You see Sinestro. He removes his Green Lantern ring and replaces it with the yellow ring. And they give him a great version of his costume. I really liked it. I wish I could get a screenshot of that because I'd love to make a custom of that version of the suit. I don't think it would be too hard. Just get one of the figures that's coming out and do the paint job on it and change the logo in the middle. I mean, it kept all the same build of it. I think it would be really cool to see that. That's what makes me a little bit hopeful for a sequel. I mean, to me, that's the best struggle of the Green Lantern Corps. That's where the Green Lantern books, I feel, are at their best, when it's the green versus the yellow, and Sinestro being that fallen lantern, that renegade lantern who's gone on to do this. And I think that is the most interesting thing in any of the Green Lantern books, and the best relationship story of any of it. And if they do a sequel, I really hope, supposedly they are doing a sequel. I know I've heard people complaining that Deadpool is on hold because they're trying to do Green Lantern 2. So if they are doing a sequel, I would definitely really like to see. I hope they don't chicken out and it is Sinestro, maybe building his core. Even if it's just Sinestro in the yellow light, we got a big epic space battle and don't have to worry about Earth and see other things. I think that could be almost a saving grace to this movie. I feel like a good sequel could save this movie and make it a little less pointless. But as it stands, it would be hard for me to recommend this movie to people. I saw it for free, putting down $9, $10, $13 on a ticket. And, if you're bringing somebody else with you, double that. I would have a hard time recommending not just waiting for video. Because it's fine, but I think it's going to look just fine on your TV screen in a couple months. And on the other hand, I want to see that sequel so bad. So maybe I should be recommending it, telling you guys to go, so that they keep the sequel alive and we get a resolution to all this. So I really am torn over my verdict on this one. You know what? I am going to slightly recommend it. I am going to, man, I feel like I'm such a copycat here, because my whole idea of doing the recommend, not recommend thing on figures came from the Now Playing podcast that reviews movies. So I feel like such a cheater taking this thing here, but I would slightly recommend this movie. It's, especially if you are a fan of the characters, it is just kind of, fan fulfillment to see these guys up on the screen. Kilowog is great. I really like the portrayal of Kilowog. I really like the portrayal of Tomar-Re. I really like the portrayal of Sinestro. Probably more so than Hal Jordan. I mean, he was fine, but I feel like they have great potential in these characters. I mean, we know from reading the comics that there's great potential in these characters. They have the ability, is there a ring color for the ability to become a great movie character? Because I think they deserve it. So, I feel like this could be the start of something. So I almost want to recommend this movie. I'm going to recommend this movie to try to get something more out of it and try to get a better experience down the line. And I know that's kind of a crappy recommendation, but I think that's what I'm going to come down to at the end of the day. This has been a movie outside the box review. I hope my rambling has not been too long and too boring. And I hope you guys go out and at least support the movie, if nothing else, if you are capable of doing so. See you guys later.